Good morning, colleagues. Can we start our meeting because we have another engagement at 10, all of us, which we must attend to. I'd like to welcome all the members who are here in this programming committee meeting this morning. Can I have apologies if there are any?
The chief whip is running late, Madam Speaker, and Ms. Webster of OSA.
Okay. Thank you very much. Are there any? Tlangwini?
Thank you, Morning Speaker. I'd like to apologize for the Honorable Mkalipi.
Thank you, Honorable Trolley.
Good morning, Honorable Speaker. I am representing Ms. Ngobeni this morning. She's apologized.
Thank you very much. Nicholas?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Nodada from the DA as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Apologies noted. The agenda has been circulated, but also is on the screen. Can I get any mover for the adoption of the agenda? Honorable Tagude, seconded by Honorable Trolley. Okay.
I'll second it, but I want to add something to the agenda.
Okay, what is it?
The discussion around the dome and the marquee.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. With those additions, the agenda has been agreed to. Can we consider the minutes of the last meeting which have been circulated? I'm sure members have looked at it. Any corrections? I don't see any hand. Can I get the mover for the adoption of the minutes? Honorable Ghana?
I move, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Honorable Trolley? Seconded. Thank you. The minutes have been agreed to. Can we get matters arising, Mr. Clausen?
Madam Speaker, we have one issue that we would like to report on, the matter of repeal of apartheid legislation, which was raised at the previous meeting. And we will just be brief on this matter. The report has been circulated to the honorable members. And all we would like to state is that the matter served before this committee several times in the previous parliament. It was referred to committees, but the speaker also wrote to the leader of government business to ask for the executive to give an indication on what would be done with the relevant legislation. Committees were asked to interact with the relevant ministers on the matter so that we could have repeal legislation introduced. We must indicate that the pace has not been ideal, and therefore what the House Chairperson for committees has determined is that when the chairpersons meet in the week of the 5th of August, this matter will be on the agenda so that committees could follow up with the relevant departments in terms of what will happen with those laws. The list was compiled, so it is available, and the executive has got the list of those laws. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable, thank you, Mr. Klasso. I appreciate that the matter has been attended to, albeit slow. The reason for sending it to the executive, if I understand very well, is whether members of the executive, in terms of those legislation, there are certain elements within the laws that they may want to keep. If there is no other legislation that will actually close those gaps. But I think we will await the report from the House Chair of Committees when we meet after the recess in terms of the engagement that he would have had with the chairpersons. Can we agree that this matter will serve again in our next programming when we come back from recess so that we can get a report from the House Chairperson on committees. Is that okay? Honorable Tlangwini, you are doubting?
No, I'm not doubting, Speaker. I'm just, I want to make a proposal, if it was not maybe perhaps already done, that maybe perhaps we must also get the list per committee so that we know in which committee falls which legislation, so that we also as members or take this back to our members, so it's not only solely given to the House chairpersons to decide whether there must be some amendments or not amendments, so that we also get an equal bite to that. So I was just considering, well, how do I put it, Speaker? Thank you.
I think that information can be circulated to members so that they can also follow up in their various committees where they serve with the members of the executive on progress that has been made. Thank you very much. Honorable members, we have asked that we get an update on a matter that was taken to court by My Vote Counts relating on the political party funding. There is a judgment that has been made on the one section of the legislation that relates to the resolution in the House. You would recall that before the election, this matter did serve, and what had happened was that the resolution that was finally adopted by the House was the resolution that did not have the parameters in terms of figures as to what should be the threshold in terms of the political party funding, around which then the president will determine regulations. So that was one matter that was taken to court by My Vote Count. The other one is a substantive matter on the amendment to the electoral law, which is still in discussion, and I'm sure that will be in court on the 12th of August. I'll just ask Mr. Klasso just to take us through what has been the judgment on the first element of that court application by My Vote Count.
Madam Speaker, the return date to court is the 12th of August, and my colleague from Legal Services is here to assist. But the court is interested in us or the parties showing cause on the 12th of August 2024 why an order should not be granted, an order that sets the parameters, the upper limit and the threshold by the court. As Madam Speaker has said, on the 16th of May, the House passed a resolution without the parameters. However, on the 9th of May, the House had considered passing a resolution that had set the upper limit and the threshold. But on 16th of May, we passed a different resolution. Now, the court has expressed some views that are not kind in terms of why Parliament decided to take that route. And therefore, what we have been advised to do is that the NA should reconsider its resolution, in a sense. That's the advice, not by the court, but the legal advice that we have received, that we should reconsider our resolution and perhaps pass a resolution that contains the parameters in terms of the upper limit and the threshold, so that when we go back to court, we're able to demonstrate that we're doing something about what the court has said on the matter of political party funding. We do recognize that today is our last day, and therefore we will not be in a position to do that resolution before the 12th. However, Parliament must be able to indicate what it is doing about the matter when we go back on the 12th of August. Therefore, Madam Speaker, what we propose we do is that we circulate the judgment to the honorable members. We circulate the resolution that was passed by the NA. And at some point, there will have to be a discussion on the type of resolution that must be passed when Parliament gets back in August. That is our proposal.
Thank you, Mr. Klaso. Maybe just to add that that approach is also aimed at assisting new parties that might not have been in the sixth administration, so that they can have an appreciation of what was this resolution that the court says we did not go far enough in terms of the threshold, as well as all parties to receive the judgment on what the court is saying. So in essence, we believe that even though on the 12th we would not have been back, but if this meeting agrees on the proposed approach, that we do inform the court that we will reconsider this matter. It has been tabled in our programming meeting. We've shared the judgment with the parties, as well as that initial resolution for parties to reflect and consider, so that when we come back, that resolution can be brought back to the House. Can I get some reflections from members? Honorable Ngubane.
Honorable Speaker, thank you very much. We, as a new party, will request as well to be furnished with all the documents, even all the resolution, because we totally in the dark. We have no clue what was going on, and we request that.
Thank you. Honorable Trollip.
Speaker, I hope that the undertaking from this committee and the correspondence from yourself will be accepted by the court, because if it isn't, it has quite serious consequences. My vote counts. We seem to believe that you can run political parties on the smell of an oil rig, which is not possible. And fundraising and raising money is a crucial part of running an effective political party. So maybe what we should do is to pen something under your hand and list the political parties that support the fact that it will come back after consideration of the judgment, and for new parties for us to sign it and take a document signed by the political parties to court on the 12th, because this Parliament to say we will discuss it in the future, a judge might just say, I've heard that story before.
Thank you. Honorable Dagude.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I want to support your proposal on this matter. Thank you.
Honorable Ndlozi.
Yes, Speaker, we support your proposal. It must be a parliament resolution, not political parties. There's no such a thing. It doesn't make sense. Thank you very much.
Honorable Ndlozi, can I maybe make some suggestion? I appreciate what you are saying. The challenge is that today it's our last day. So I'm not sure whether we can be able to pass a resolution to that effect. But I thought, because this is a structure, which is a constitutional structure of Parliament, if it agrees with the proposal, we can then write in an affidavit to court to indicate that this matter is served in this structure, and there is agreement by parties that the resolution must be re-looked into by the National Assembly when we come back after recess. Yes, Honorable Ndlozi.
No, Speaker, even in that instance, you would have to agree in terms of the structures of Parliament.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm resisting the idea that we are making laws here as political parties. I think it would not be legally sound. So it's served in a structure of Parliament.
Yes.
In that sense, yeah. And
Yeah.
agreed, I agree completely.
Okay.
We agree.
Thank you. Thank you very much, honorable members, for your guidance. Can we proceed on the reports from committee section as well as the bills office? Ms. Kanyaza?
Thank you, Speaker. Good morning to members of Parliament and colleagues. Just go to slide number 3. Yes, thank you so much. There was just one bill before a committee, that is the Standing Committee on Appropriations, and that was the Appropriation Bill, B number 5 of 2004. Just want to report that the bill has been finalized by the committee on the 23rd of July, 2024. And the next slide is just to alert members that we have the list of all budget votes processed and published. It is available. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good morning, Honorable Speaker. Our report will start from slide number 2. As my colleague has already reported on the appropriation bill, the bill is now in the order paper for consideration. So I must also indicate that we are also working on the second language of the bill, which is Setswana. And the next slide will be slide number 8. I am not going to report on the other slides, honorable members, as we have already reported on them last week. So on slide number 8, I'm reporting on the bills that, the acts that the president has signed, which is the National Small Enterprise Amendment Bill, the Climate Change Bill, Public Procurement Amendment Bill, the Pension Funds Amendment Bill. All these bills have been signed into law and they will be sent to the Constitutional Court for safekeeping. Thank you.
Thank you, honorable members. Here is the report. Honorable Tlangwini.
Thank you very much, Speaker. Speaker, I think we need to also add a slide on the bills that we are sending and awaiting in front of the president for signing, because what we have seen in our legacy reports, there's a lot of bills that were completed last year in the 6th Parliament that are still in front of the president, and a lot of money goes into those public hearings and so forth, and for it to just stuck on the desk of the president, it's fruitless and wasteful expenditure. So I think we need to get also a slide that to say by this time or that time the president will sign this acts into law, because there's a one that is still on its table on the upstream petroleum resource development bill. So we need to get an update on all of those bills in front of his table. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you. Do we have the slide?
Yes, Honorable Speaker, if we go to slide number 6, to our report, and you can see, Honorable Member, the second bill from the bottom is the Upstream Petroleum Resources Development Amendment Bill, and also slide 7. So those are the list of the bills that are with the president for assent that were sent.
Honorable Tlangwini and then Honorable Story.
I think maybe perhaps my request is not clear enough, Speaker. I think we need to get a report as to when is he going to sign it. There must be some form of commitment as to time frames as to when is he going to sign it. Because for it to be here, it can be here on this list for a couple of months. But it cannot be that members of parliament goes to the extreme of creating these bills and doing public hearings, and it's just sitting on the desk of the president. There must be time frames. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Story.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson, and greeting to all members. Honorable Chairperson, I'm trying to check about the lapse bills. Do they have a list of them, because, and from which department? Because we have to know during 6th Parliament, how many bills that have lapsed?
Thank you. Honorable members, just maybe to, oh, okay, Honorable Shivambu, sorry, I didn't see your hand.
No, thank you, Speaker. I see in the bills, report, the report on legislation, we have, as part of the lapsed bills, the South African Reserve Bank Amendment Bill, which was the private members' bill introduced by the Economic Freedom Fighters. And I see that as part of the bills that are going to be resuscitated into this sitting, the South African Reserve Bank Amendment Bill is not there. I want to propose that we include it into this other paper so that the committee then deals with it, because we had made the initial presentation to the Standing Committee on Finance, and the Bill's office was directed to conduct the socio-economic research and the financial implications that would come as a result of that. So would think that it should be resuscitated so that we can discontinue private ownership of the central bank in South Africa. That is a part of majority of us resolutions here. I think 70% of otherwise, as to while progressive parties and the real progressive parties agree that
Honorable
we should.
Shivambu, now we are getting
should
to the
nationalize
meat
the
of
Reserve
the
Bank.
debate on how we must deal with this legislation. I've noted what you are saying about it being revived. Mr. Klaso?
Madam Speaker, if this meeting agrees, we can produce a reprint of the order paper. We had indicated, I think it was a Chiefs Forum, that honorable members who had introduced private bills can indicate if they wish their bills to be revived. So if there's another member or party whose bill lapsed that they wish to be revived, they can indicate now so that we can do a reprint of the order paper to include those bills when we revive the bills this morning.
Mbovu.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. With that opportunity being given by the Secretary, we would like to be, even though it's not the bill that we propose, we would like the Electoral Commission's bill as well that MK Party have interest on that procedure.
Okay.
Madam Speaker, it has to be the sponsor of the bill who indicates that.
I did mention that even though we're not, but we have interest of having input.
We will have to find who was the sponsor so that we can persuade the sponsor to to ensure that the bill is resuscitated. Deputy Speaker?
Honourable Speaker, yes, I am the sponsor of that bill. So yes, I would not mind that it be revived.
Okay, thank you very much. So Mbomvu, you are covered. And Honorable Shivambu, you are covered. So the meeting agrees that the two, this is Parliament. We agree and disagree on some matters. Like now, we've just agreed on this important matter, and the interesting sponsors have agreed that the bills must be revived. So I will ask the bills office to take note of those two. And Mr. Klaso, if the order paper can be reprinted, including the resuscitation of the two legislation. Honorable member, can we move to consideration of draft parliamentary program? Mr. Klaso?
Madam Speaker, to be helpful to our members, we have circulated the order paper for today so that we can just, because that's a program for today, and then we will present the second term program as well. So today we're dealing with the appropriation bill in the main. So there will be a motion to enable us to deal with the bill and suspend the 3-day rule. And then there are resolutions on permit and a resolution on the political office bearers pension fund. On the parliamentary office bearers pension fund, let me just put it that way, there is a name missing of one alternate, and therefore we we'll pass the resolution without that name of the alternate from the other parties. So if the name is available, again, we could get that name so that as we reprint the order paper, we include that name there. That is on page 39 of the order paper. And then, Madam Speaker, we've spoken about the bills that are being revived. Why are we reviving these bills? Because Madam Speaker wrote to the executive to indicate whether they wanted the bills to be revived. And the executive has written back to say, yes, please revive these bills. So that's why we are reviving them today from the stage they reached at the time we went to elections. So the committees will decide how to deal with the bills because most of them were before committees. Honorable members, the bill on National State Enterprises Bill, as you will be aware, we don't have a public enterprises committee. That bill will go to monitoring and evaluation for consideration. And Madam Speaker, then we deal with the science and technology report. There's no debate there. It's just the output from the mini plenary session. Then we get to the appropriation bill, first reading debate. So there will be a debate there, 116 minutes. And then we go to the votes and schedules. We just want to, again, indicate what the procedure will be there. Firstly, we appreciate the parties that have given us an indication in terms of who is going to object or wishes to declare. I'm not sure if we got indications on the parties that wish to divide. By last night, we had not received that. Have we received it? We have not received that. We would have appreciated it if we got that information. But in the event, in the event that there is a division, in the event that there is a division on any of the votes, the party whips will do the counting, the head count.
Could I ask Mr. Klasso to speak up a bit? I can't get this thing to work.
Okay. All right. May I start at the votes and schedules? Honorable Trolley? Okay. All right. So we will take the votes and schedules one at a time. That procedure entails declarations and voting. So we'll declare and vote and then move to the next one. So if there is a division on any of the votes, the party whips will do the head count themselves and advise the presiding officer how many members they have. When there is need for assistance, we are available to assist in terms of verifying the numbers of the parties. I also said that some of the parties have indicated where they will declare and where they will object. By last night, there was no indication of a division. The session itself we have budgeted 3 hours for that part. But if there are divisions, it's likely to go beyond 3 hours, could go to 5 hours, we don't know. We also made available the time. Jerome, if you could just show those times in the meantime while I present. The times that have been given to the parties for that session. That time, if you've been given 33 minutes, you decide how you deploy that time, decide how you utilize that time. And that is all you have. So once you exhaust your time, you will not be recognized to make declarations. Now, Madam Speaker, we wish also to indicate that there's been a request to deal with, I think it's votes 21, vote 24, I'm looking at my colleague, vote 21, vote 24, vote 28, and vote 34 first. These, the 3 that I've mentioned first, concern the police ministry, and vote 34 is mineral and energy or mineral resources, because those ministers need to be at the NCOP at 2 o'clock to participate in debates also on the budget votes. So we are requesting that we take those votes first, even before vote 1, when we get to the votes and schedule, so that the ministers could be able to go to the other house to deal with those matters. Madam Speaker, that is all on the votes and schedules. And then we'll deal with the Rules Committee report as the last item. There is no debate. We don't know if parties wish to declare on it. The matters have been discussed extensively in the Rules Committee, but there's no debate on the Rules Committee report. Thank you, Madam Speaker. That is on today's program, before I go to the second term.
Thank you,
Speaker, just to
Scott
confirm,
and Mbomvu and Los.
morning to colleagues. The
And
option
Julie.
one, I understand, was agreed, subject to correction. Is that correct, Mr. Carson? And then secondly, as far, should there be a need for a division, you referred to the whips. Now, obviously, it's every party where the whips are for other parties. It's required, as we did in the previous parliament, that every party, so I as a whip for other parties, I'm not going to speak on all the other parties, but it would be every party, the whips of the parties, but then other parties would indicate their vote. Is that correct?
Mbomvu.
Madam Speaker,
Sorry,
Confirm option one as the time allocation. Was that confirmed? Okay.
yeah, Madam Speaker, as MK Party, we would like to raise the concern. I think I don't know why we couldn't raise it on the Chief Whip's committee as well. We'd like to raise a concern about the PARMED, the Board of Trustees, the influx and the representation of ANC and DA. So with now with the collaboration that we see this morning of MK and DA, we don't know, maybe they could float one position so that to grow this relationship, Madam Speaker. Because it's if you look in a reality, Madam Speaker, even if we look at the representative that will come from NCOP, it is obvious that it will be an ANC representative. So it will be all be the PARMED that is one-sided, and there won't be that through corporate governance and being representative as a reflection of the opposition and the rest. That's just our concern. Madam Speaker, if we can still have a relook at that, given that opportunity.
okay, Honorable Dozie. You have reconsidered your view?
No, the alternate member, the proposed resolution 5 says will elect the 4th alternate trustee on a date to be determined. We have considered on number 3 to the FF plus. That's why the FF plus is here with me.
This collaboration, this
Yeah.
one, it's interesting. Okay,
So we have done that since 2014.
okay.
That Dr. Mulder goes there. But now we think on number 5, we can agree an alternate to be EFF, Honorable Mautwe, if the House agrees. Thank you.
Honorable Nduli.
Thanks, Madam Speaker. Good morning and good morning to other honorable members. The first one, I want to support the proposal about the program to accommodate the ministers who should go to the NCOP at 2 o'clock. That rearrangement of the program to accommodate that, I want to support it. The second one is that I was hoping that the parties that may be calling for a division will also favor us with that information so that we know what is going to happen when we go to the house.
Spirit of collaboration,
Yeah,
I guess.
I mean, I'm raising that matter, Speaker, not within the parameters of the rules, but you see now the MK and the DA have just agreed on certain bills which sustain the EFF Freedom Front Plus position. So I thought maybe we can be favored just with that information for our own estimation as we prepare to go that side of the house. Thanks.
Thank you. Let me ask Mr. Klaso to respond to the questions that have been raised, and the request, particularly on the issue of permit.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. On the issue by Honorable Swart, indeed, each party must indicate their voting positions. And option one, you're right, is the one that was selected, which we showed here. And then on the issue of permit, Madam Speaker, the matter indeed was discussed at the Chief Whip's Forum. While permit was discussed at Chief Whip's Forum, I did raise the issue of the composition twice. And yesterday, at least the sense we got was that it was agreed that the DA would be represented, and also that, of course, the Deputy Speaker, as the one assigned by the Speaker to permit, would also be part of permit, and then the ANC. So, Madam Speaker, the principal matter that has been raised by Honorable Ngubane maybe is a matter that can be discussed in the future, because I think the contention is that you have the Deputy Speaker and then you have a DA member, but the Deputy Speaker is there as assigned by the Speaker in her capacity as the Speaker. She happens to be from the Democratic Alliance. So I think that principle will have to be discussed in the future, but perhaps for today, the House could proceed as we have it on the order paper. Regarding the alternate for the pension fund, that will be done. We'll make that adjustment for 10 o'clock. Honorable Mawadre. Thanks.
Well, on the issue that has been raised by Honorable Ntuli, usually parties will indicate to the NA table once we know that information will make available. But parties at any given time can indicate their position in the House. So we accept it as such. For now, as we indicated, we have said that we have been informed by other parties where they will make declarations, as well as on the objections where they will. So as and when information gets available, it's shared. And I take note the issue that has been raised by MK in terms of representation on permit, and that will be reflected upon as Mr. Klaso has indicated. Can we get a report? Okay, second term program.
Madam Speaker, we have tabled the program for the second term. We will come back on the 20th of August. So today is the last day of sittings for the NA, unless there's a decision to have a sitting between now and the 20th of August. So we come back on the 20th of August. We do committees. As I understand it, part of what committees will do is some subject-specific induction, but that is for the House Chairperson to finalize for committees. And then on the 27th of August, we have a debate on National Women's Day. We doubt that we'll have any legislation to deal with then. There may be some committee reports, but as business becomes available, that will be populated. And then on the 28th, we have questions to Cluster 1, and 29th, questions to the President. And then the 30th of August, Women's Parliament, the details will be made available by the House Chairperson responsible for sectoral parliaments. And then, Madam Speaker, without going through each of these days, but on the 5th of September, we have Deputy President, questions to the Deputy President, and we might have mini plenaries on the 6th of September. If we do have them, they will be dealing with the debates. And then that session will run, the term will run until the 20th of September, and then 23rd September to 7th October, it will be a constituency period. And when we come back, we'll do what we refer to as a budgetary review and recommendation reports. We will explain that procedure in due course to the honorable members. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. There's the second term program tabled. Honorable Lozi. Honorable Ghana.
There seem to be no motions all. Can you please, Mr. Castle, give light in regards to that? The program ends in September, yeah. Until September, there wouldn't have been any motion that is led by a member that we debate.
Okay, Honorable Ghana.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Want to propose that maybe the first session on the 27th will factor in member statements if there will not be legislation. We factor in member statements and motions without notice. So because we'll be coming back from the constituency period, I think it makes sense that the first sitting, some of the issues that will have picked up, members might want to raise them and not wait for the second week. That's my proposal, Madam Speaker.
Okay, I don't see any hand. Mr. Klasso, those are the, well, questions as well as proposals on the program.
No, thank you, Madam Speaker. Yes, I think the 27th, the proposal by Honorable Ghana will then enable what Honorable Ndlozi is asking for, because we must first have the motions submitted by honorable members before there can be a debate on them. So that session will then assist honorable members to propose motions that can then be scheduled for debate by the House.
Okay, honorable members, there is the program, responses have been given. Do we adopt? I don't know what the hand means. Agreed?
I move for the adoption.
Okay, any seconder? Seconded by Honorable Sole. Honorable members, while we appreciate that today may be the last day, I will just request that members of the Joint Standing Committee be on standby between today and the 29th. We will try and see if we can have a virtual meeting. The Joint Rules Committee, rather. That meeting is important so that we can set up the structures that are of a joint committee nature. So we will do that though by, virtual. I'm saying this because Mr. Klasso said today is the last day. So while physically it may be the last day here, but actually our constituency period starts on the 29th. So between then, I was just asking members to be ready that we can convene an online meeting on the joint rules so that we deal with the constitution of those committees. Honorable Ndlozi?
No, thanks, Speaker. The final matter of concern is acceleration. On the Rules Committee's resolution to establish the portfolio committee on the presidency. I want to impress on the Speaker to fast track that process. The Honorable Mamfundisi Hlakude is dragging.
There is no Mamfundisi. Honorable Ndlozi.
No, Speaker, I don't think you are aware. It's a recognition of a proper spiritual office.
Honorable Ndlozi, Honorable Hlakude, we have taken note of that, honorable members. Indeed, it's a matter that we must conclude. It has arisen in the debate on the vote of the presidency, and President indeed also said he's open for that and hopes that the relevant structures of the rules will finalize on that matter. So indeed, we'll make sure that that is attended to. Can we get the report on interpretation services?
Madam Speaker, I will give that report. We've circulated, well, it's going to be on the screen, but we'll circulate the presentation as well. We first wish to state perhaps the obvious, that we render interpreting services in 12 official languages, And therefore we are compliant with the constitution to that extent. And that we have a language services, which was established in 2004, which has 3 units: interpreting, translations, and reporting. So what we have when we are sitting, it's the interpreting service, reporting is a Hansard service, and of course, the translations. And we do interpret when we go to taking parliament to the people, sectoral parliaments, and of course in the plenaries. And for committees, we do it on request. So when there's a request, we make that service available. The next slide. So when there is a need, for instance, for Khoi, Nama, and San languages, we outsource that service so that we can make the service available, but it's a special arrangement that would be made. We also want to indicate that there's been a greater demand for interpreting services in the recent past or in recent years. And we always provide at least 2 interpreters per language, per session. And that is our minimum requirement. Currently, in terms of capacity, we have 27 language practitioners. This excludes your seniors, and 26 reporters in the reporting unit, and 30 in the translations unit. So you have 83. So the next table indicates the vacancies that we have, but also what we are doing about the vacancies. Honorable members may note that under Isindebele, there is a field positions 0 there, but we do have a senior language practitioner who provides that service. Also, when there is a need, we outsource the service. For instance, today, there is that service in both houses, the NA and the NCOP, for the duration of this week. And so wherever there is a need for additional support, we provide the support through outsourcing the service. But we should also state that as we speak now, we are going to be filling all these positions that are vacant. The Secretary of Parliament is dealing with the matter. He has a submission before him, and he's giving this matter priority so that the vacancies can be filled. In the mini plenaries, I think we should just state this. We did have interpretation from the floor language. We provided that interpretation. There were issues sometimes in terms of the channels when the interpretation was there. But we accept also that there may have been instances where the service may not have been available to the extent that it was required. But we ensured that there was interpretation and there was capacity available, but there was confusion in some respects. And then we just want to say that to mitigate the staff capacity constraints, we try to prioritize, like not providing the simultaneous interpretation. Let's say if I speak in English, interpret into isiXhosa or Isindebele, but when there's a isiXhosa speaker on the floor, we interpret from isiXhosa into English. That's what we call flow language interpreting. So that's what we do when there's a greater demand for interpreting services. Now, specifically for mini plenaries. So what you had with mini plenaries is 3 mini plenaries running at the same time. And sometimes you would have 3 mini plenaries and have the NCOP. So you would have had 4 sittings running at the same time. So what we needed to do there was to outsource the service where we could not cope with the demand. So we collaborate as well. And of course, we're filling the vacancies. And there are colleagues who are multi-skilled language practitioners who can speak isiZulu, who can speak isiXhosa, who can speak Isindebele, and they assist when there's a need to assist. The next slide. Yeah, I think the point that I've just made, that interpreting services were provided in all venues in the mini plenaries. At least 1 interpreter per language was provided in each session. And we also, as indicated, outsource the service. The Secretary to Parliament may wish to say something on the issue. Thank you.
Let's allow the secretary to add and then I'll open it up.
No, thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Good morning, to honorable members. Indeed, we are prioritizing the areas where we have vacancies, and that matter will be updated to the programming committee as soon as we have a substantive update as to when will we be gradually filling those. But it is a matter that is receiving utmost attention to be expedited. Thanks.
Thank you, Honorable Mbovu and Honorable Ngwankwa and Honorable Sol.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Garnet.
To us, this issue of interpretation is a critical one from MK Party as well, Madam Speaker. This service on request. We would like to know on request where, who requested before it's being provided, before it exists in committee rooms or everywhere else. Because most of us as MK, we interested to start to communicate with our vernacular language, and we've got the Khoisan Kings as well, people who communicate with the people in the Bundus, the rural areas, who would like to start to communicate their language so that they are able to pass the information to the constituencies that brought us here. So if we can get that on request and to try to now to cater for accommodation, that it must always be there, not on optional, as an optional consideration.
Thank you, Honorable Ngwankwa.
Mandiqale ngesiXhosa nasenitolike kwalapha. Speaker. Fanele ibe khona. Speaker, the issue for me is firstly ndifuna ubuza i-Hansard lena. Isekhona because in the past you used to be sent a record of your speech to correct, to check whether you'd been recorded accurately. Since the Parliament Act, I've never received any speech summary. Says nobody corner now on record or what. And now when the party at some point, Sengek wants to refer to some of the positions we've taken here, it might not have that information at hand. The other issue for me is there some kind of quality assurance the Parliament ends when it outsources the service? Because sometimes you listen to that interpretation. Ayihlangani nale nto ithethwa sispeaker on the podium. Uphela usiba lost, ubona abantu who understand the language, especially when it's translated to vernacular. Ubona ukuthi abanye baya understand, but when you actually lost after having listened to the interpretation services. And also, I want to understand when it comes to, remember we spoke, what is the purpose of the language services unit here if the papers of Parliament cannot be translated to different languages? What do they sit and do? Because often in the past, what we saw were other papers and other documents that were only purely in English and Afrikaans, as if those are the only languages we speak here. And thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Sithole.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. I think Honorable member of next to my friend, next to me, has covered. My concern, Honorable Chairperson, is the capacity of the interpreters. Ngoba kwesinye isikhathi ulimi lwakithi liyalumela uma umuntu elikhuluma ngendlela ongesiyona. Ade ngilalela izolo, I was listening yesterday when they interpret from English, from Afrikaans to isiZulu. Capacity yakhona is not that. If you can check, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Garnet.
Thank you very much. So one thing that maybe we need to consider is interpreting beyond ourselves. So at the moment, the interpretation serves us and not the people that are watching. So I know that there's technology now that allows people who are following the proceedings of Parliament to choose the language so that we utilize that. It's an investigation, I think, given the technology, investment that we want to make. Can we look at that so that someone who's following the proceedings of Parliament can be able to choose? I mean, like if I'm watching football now or rugby or any other sport, I can choose the language that I want to enjoy the football. So can I propose that as part of the the investment into the technology, let's put on our channels that the people of South Africa who are watching can choose the language so that they can follow. Because in many a times we put this investment, all 44 people are only serving us. The person who's sitting at home cannot hear in the language. So that's why they say there's a distance between ourselves and Parliament. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Honorable members, can I make a summary? That this was a report just to give us what is the status quo, what obtains. But clearly what is coming from members is that this is an important issue. It can't be an ad hoc matter. It can't be just on request only. We need to find a way in which the translation simultaneously to our languages is actually undertaken. My proposal is give us time so that in the next standing committee, Joint Standing Committee of Parliament, we can indicate what the cost implication of the full House service will be. And we can all agree as parties how gradually we would like to work on it. And what it will cost if, for instance, all 14 committee rooms have to have that simultaneous translation, what would it be? The issue also that has been raised by Honorable Ndlozi in terms of the documentation and how those actually are also interpreted in all our languages. It's important, it's a matter that we need to also reflect on and come back to say how that will be done. And maybe I can ask Honorable Classo to respond on the issue of Hansard, whether it's still there. If not, what is obtaining currently? I'm just requesting to those who were having their hands that is that okay? Or you still want to add? Tlagude and Tlangwini, do you still want to add? Okay, Tlangwini.
Thanks, Speaker. Now I'm content with your proposal, Speaker. But also on another aspect that we must not lose the pulse on, it's the support in the committees itself, content advisors and so forth. Because there are some committees that will that used to be combined that are now separately. Like I know, like yesterday, what we faced in the minerals and electricity, they are now separate. So there's no content advisor for electricity currently. So that we also need to keep our eyes on the ball that in those portfolio committees, members do have those type of support within the committees as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Tlangwini. Can we now get an answer on the Hansard?
Madam Speaker, what I'm able to confirm is that yes, we still do have Hansard. But in terms of the detail that has been asked by Honorable Kwangwa, I request to give a considered reply. I just need to get the information so I can give the specifics not only to him, but to the rest of the members. Also, issues of quality have been raised. We would like to respond to those issues. And of course, the Deputy Speaker has assigned the Deputy Speaker language policy issues. We'll also interact with the Speaker and the Deputy Speaker on that matter. Then on support to committees, Ms. Begg is here and Dr. Twalo are here, but they won't respond now. But we have taken note of the issues raised so that we can respond to the need. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Honorable Ndlozi.
A different matter, Speaker.
Okay.
I should have raised it at the program.
Any other business now?
No. I think you would. You want to hear it.
I'm all ears. I was
Thank you,
just
Speaker.
asking since.
Can we get an undertaking that when we come back, the dome will be ready? From the secretary, because we want to when we come back, it's plenary. So it must be ready, the dome, even with that thing to vote. so that it must replicate Parliament as much as possible.
Okay, I think you are now taking us on an issue that Honorable Trollip also wanted. Honorable Trollip, through the chair, I'm now giving you an opportunity.
Yeah, I don't know if, Chair, if things have changed, since I left here, but on a matter like having a dome or having a marquee or having an alternate venue, we need to make informed decisions. We can't just come to a meeting and one organization says, no, we must have a dome. The other one says we must have a marquee. The other one says we must go to a hotel. We've got to make informed decisions. We've got a cost benefit analysis. I mean, I was surprised to see the marquee there the other day, and I thought it worked well for the last few days. I want to see the difference of what a marquee costs, what a dome costs. I see in the dome presentation, we've got to buy furniture, ergonomic chairs, and all sorts of things like that. I have no idea what it's going to cost. So until we have had a presentation of what's going to cost and how it's going to work, I cannot support having a dome by the time we come back here. It just doesn't work like that.
Well, maybe let me preface the issue. This is a matter that had been raised in the 6th administration. Members felt the prolonged hybrid does not enable full engagement by members. So there was a decision in the 6th administration that Parliament must look at the alternatives. There were various proposals that were made on the type of alternatives that can be looked at, which obviously will have to be cost effective. It was in that spirit that Parliament engaged Public Works, who actually owns, so we're not leasing the dome. Public Works had bought a dome when President Mandela was buried in 2013. So that's a state asset. It's not something that will be procured. We engaged the minister, and we will be having a meeting with the minister in detail today in terms of that facility. We have also engaged the Minister of Defense to enable us to bring the dome and reconstruct it, because even at that funeral, it was not external services that did that reconstruction of the dome on site in Kunu, it was the Defense Force. So if members agree, can you allow us to proceed? Because the longer we prolong on this matter, you know, we go back to square one of having to hire. And what we have discussed yesterday with the secretary is that we will have as basic as possible. So all those other frills that were indicated in the Chief Whip's Forum, we will curtail so that it's the basic meeting structure like you've had with the tent that we're having. So we're not going to have the gallery, and we will just have the option where, like we've had in the CTICC as well as the marquee that we've had. But the costs we can bring after our engagement today with the Minister of Public Works. But I just wanted to indicate to members that is a state-owned facility. It's not like we're going to be going to hire a dome from somebody else. I'll duly allow Honorable Shivambu and allow Honorable Kwankwa.
No, thanks, Speaker. Speaker, we were in the Chief Whip's Forum yesterday, and the matter was presented to us in great details. I understand that some of the honorable members who are here today were not there yesterday, but they were represented by their own party colleagues in that meeting. Now, it's difficult for some of us that you sit in the meeting yesterday you exhaust a discussion on a matter where broadly there's consensus amongst us about the direction we are taking. You attend another meeting the following day, the issue is brought back to the agenda as though it's a new matter. Now, yesterday, it came in the form of a presentation presented to our meeting. Now, today it's not coming in the form of a presentation, but from where you are, your summary that you are making, which I think is taking forward, we should avoid the situation where we get the matter be represented again today when we're dealing with it yesterday. I fully understand that Honorable Trolley, for instance, expresses a concern about many things that he says he is not certain about. There's no problem with that. But I don't think that we can make this meeting to guarantee him and others like him about the details that we dealt with yesterday and in the previous meetings. I'm raising that point because then it undermines the value of other meetings. When you discuss each and every matter, yesterday we had to stop the discussion on that matter to deal with other matters and come back to it because there was a prolonged engagement on the very same question. So if it's coming back here today, then it becomes a problem. And I'm concerned because the colleagues who are raising it are those who were not in the meeting yesterday. And yet their representatives in the same meeting had led us to a very exhaustive discussion on the very same issue. So that's why I'm saying I'm concerned because I think we are now doing something that in my own view is avoidable in terms of managing our own meetings. Thanks.
Thank you, Honorable Shivamo.
No, thanks, Speaker. There is no question about the going the dome option. There's no one who's doubting that. And we all have agreed in that. The issue that we're raising was that when we come back from recess, it must be in place and then it must have all the parliament functions and the setup must be appears like a parliament. That let's stop the city hall, let's stop city ICC, let's stop all these other temporary arrangements. Let's have something which will be much more solid. I will give you a full go ahead in terms of that. It's even much more convenient that the dome is owned by the state. So it's not going to be hired for a longer period. So let's just make sure that by the time we come back from recess, it's fully established. That is the point that we're raising. That is why we're saying that we had wanted to raise it in the program discussion. So that is the emphasis that we're putting that. So we fully agree on the dome option. So let's proceed accordingly.
Thank you, Honorable Nkwankwa.
Speaker, perhaps to use a paradox, we want to plead for more haste and less speed. Why am I saying that? Is that in the meeting we held yesterday, we said we're still going to go back and do a comparative cost analysis. Does it mean we're opposed to the dome? It means it must make financial sense for Parliament to do so. Because once the decision, it doesn't stop, that submission doesn't stop the processes which are currently underway, the consultation you have done. But remember, there's a context as well to the debate, Speaker, to this issue, simply because you raised it in your debate as well. Some of the initiatives that Parliament is undertaking to address the issue of office space, accommodation, and all of these issues. But we have to have this comparative analysis so that we know all the hidden costs. Land of gain. It must be partitioned. All of those things must happen. How much is that going to cost? The cost might not, Parliament might not necessarily be the cost center for some of the expenses that the taxpayer is going to incur. It might be defense, as you said, but those are costs to the taxpayer nonetheless. And in the meeting we had yesterday with, when we're concluding it, there was a commitment that such a discussion, even if it happens virtually, to make sure that by the time we come back, there's certainty about the way forward. If it's the dome, it's fine. If it makes financial sense, it's fine. But everyone must be brought on board because it's a decision that as this collective, we're going to have to go and defend outside once we've taken it. Once we choose an option, because now if you have a marquee speaker as well, it becomes another option, and we don't even know how much it costs Parliament to actually put that marquee there. And we need to get a sense, a better sense of what are the cost implications of each option that we're going to undertake. The other issue here, Speaker, which is important, is there is the refurbishment of Parliament. I hear that there was a presentation given by the Secretary to Parliament and other people. I was not part of that meeting because communication was sent to a wrong email address. That's fine. But the deadlines now seem to have changed from the initial deadlines which were given to us in the 6th Parliament. And we need to interrogate that and ask questions to DBSA as well. So we need to look at this thing more comprehensively, not to say we are opposed to proposals that are on the table. Thank you.
Honorable Trolley.
Thanks, Speaker, and thanks for clarifying the fact that this matter was discussed in the 6th Parliament and that it's a process. I appreciate that. But just apropos what Honorable Ntuli said, you know, I heard you say something now that wasn't said yesterday, that it won't provide the full suite as per the report that we were sent. I read that report with committee meeting rooms, a gallery, that we wanted a 700-seat gallery that could only provide a 350-seat gallery. And then you've said now it's just going to be just this basic format of Parliament, like the ICC, like the Cape Town City Hall, like the Marquee. So sometimes we can't be in two places at the same time. Some of us, maybe some of us are more like the Holy Ghost and can be, but I can't. So when I missed that meeting yesterday, I wanted the opportunity to raise this issue here today, that we make informed decisions. And the only properly informed decision I can make is when I see two options that are costed in front of my eyes. And until I see two options or three options that are costed in front of my eyes, I cannot make an informed decision. And I'm here to make informed decisions, not just to go along to get along.
Honorable members, thank you very much. Honorable Dlakude, and then I will summarize.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I want to agree with you, Honorable Speaker, when you said that this issue of a dome was discussed many times and it was agreed upon. Then, secondly, yesterday, when the presentation was made in the Chief Whip's Forum, the costs of erecting the dome and everything else that is supposed to go there were presented in the meeting. So, Honorable Speaker, I think we are already running out of time. The request might be in this meeting for those who were not in the meeting to be finished with the presentations. The only costing that we didn't get was for the tent out there and everything else that goes with it. Thank you.
Honorable members, can I be allowed to summarize so that we are not late for the sitting? It's 2:15. We will give necessary detail to all members. What are the cost implications of continuing on a hybrid? Because it's also not like it's cheap, because we have to provide those online services to make sure that it also has interpretation. So we'll deal with that. We'll also indicate the cost of a marquee, what will it mean, as well as the cost on the dome. But I would appeal to members that we really try to finalize these matters, because it has just been ongoing. One, we agree on something and then we change again, and it does create difficulty for all of us to move forward. Honorable Trolley, the issue I was raising today, we had a meeting after the Chief Whip's Forum with the Secretary, and I was saying, let's rather look at what is cost effective rather than the whole suite of a gallery in terms of having it higher. We can have it as we do in the Marquee or as we've had in the CTICC, and we'll do those comparisons. But I really would appreciate that members, let's close this matter. We will send the quotes of what all the three, because it's not one, the marquee, the online, and the dome, and then we move forward. Our interest is that by the time we come back, we no more go for any temporal structure, and the choice of the venue even was to make sure that we are closer to the offices to enable functionality as well. And I would also say it's important that we have a venue that can be semi-permanent while we refurbish Parliament. And I think it's important to have physical meetings as members had requested, particularly for new members who are coming in this Parliament as new parties. It does enable to build, a community and have some cohesion on the functionality. We all know the experience of having worked almost 2 years under COVID without having meeting, what it meant for all of us. So we're trying as best as we could to have a functional institution, albeit under the circumstances. Just to assure you, Honorable Nkwankwa, we're meeting with DBSA with Public Works today so that we deal with the issues of the timelines on the refurbishment of Parliament. And we will inform members as well on the outcome of our meeting with the DBSA on those issues of concern for all of us, because indeed we would like to see that refurbishment happening soonest than what maybe might have been envisaged by those who are contractors. Honourable members, when I
The
close
process empowers you, Speaker, to go ahead, by the way. You will tell us later. If people understand the parliamentary process, even your appropriation budget is appropriated, go build the dome. Thank you.
We now move on the announcements. Are there any announcements?
To confirm, Honorable Speaker, that the induction of chairpersons is confirmed from the 7th to the 8th of August
Okay.
in Gauteng.
Induction of chairpersons, 7th to the 8th
8th of August
in Gauteng.
Gauteng.
There is one announcement that I know has not been made, but it's an important one because it may assist that we finish early. That there's some party who have a party in Northern Cape this weekend. So the party that has a party need to be in Northern Cape. So we must finish at 3 today. Honourable members, thank you very much and wish the party all the best in their party this weekend.